You think about air travel today, and how much of the safety we take for granted is built on lessons from the past, sometimes tragic lessons.
Absolutely. It's a continuous process, learning and adapting.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the Air India tragedies. We've got some documentary insights, and we really want to figure out, what happened, and maybe more importantly, what it means for us now.
Exactly. And it's interesting because we're looking at very different kinds of incidents, decades apart, but both feeding into that same pool of knowledge about aviation safety and security.
Let's start with Air India Flight 182, June 23rd, 1985. It just disappeared from radar. It remains one of the most horrific acts of aviation terrorism ever. 329 people on board.
Yeah, it's chilling to think about. The cause was essentially a bomb, hidden.
Hidden where? How did it work?
It was planted inside a briefcase, checked into the cargo hold, and, nobody knew. There was just a timer ticking away silently until, well, high over the Atlantic, there was this muffled explosion.
And the result was just
Yeah.
instant catastrophe.
Instantaneous, complete destruction of the aircraft. There were no survivors.
Just wreckage, silence. I remember seeing images from the memorial services, the families. The grief is unimaginable. It really hits home that these aren't just statistics.
Not at all. These are hundreds of shattered lives, families broken apart. And the investigation eventually confirmed it was a planned attack.
Planned by whom?
It was linked to Sikh extremists. It tied into a wider political conflict happening at the time. But for the families waiting for answers, for justice,
It took a long time.
a very long time, decades, really. Justice was incredibly slow and very painful for everyone involved.
Beyond the human tragedy, which is paramount, you mentioned this changed things. How did Flight 182 change aviation security, like tangibly?
Well, this is a really key point for you listening. Before 1985, the procedures for checked luggage were, let's say, less stringent.
How so?
Crucially, bags weren't always matched to passengers actually on the plane. If you checked a bag but didn't board, sometimes the bag still flew.
I see where this is going.
Exactly. Flight 182 brutally exposed that flaw. The bomb was in a bag checked by someone who wasn't on the flight. So the direct result was the implementation of the positive baggage match rule globally.
Meaning every single checked bag must belong to someone physically on that aircraft.
Precisely. That, plus much tighter screening for all checked items and unaccompanied baggage, those became standard practice. It's a direct legacy, a constant warning.
A warning and a call for vigilance, as you say. Okay, so that's 1985, a deliberate act of terror. Fast forward to 2020, and we have another Air India incident, but very different circumstances. Air India Express Flight 1344.
Completely different. This wasn't terrorism. This was an operational accident in Kozhikode.
What happened there?
It came down to a combination of factors. Very poor weather, heavy rain, and critically, it was landing on what's called a tabletop runway, one that's often on a plateau, with steep drops at the end.
Okay.
The aircraft basically overshot the runway. It couldn't stop in time, went past the end and down into a gorge.
So an accident caused by weather, runway conditions, maybe operational factors during landing?
That's what the investigation focused on, yes.
Wow.
A stark contrast to a hidden bomb. It highlights the sheer breadth of challenges in aviation.
But both incidents, despite being so different, terrorism versus operational accident, they both fed into improving safety overall, right?
Absolutely. One forced a revolution in security thinking, how we protect planes from deliberate threats. The other reinforces lessons about pilot training, dealing with adverse weather, runway safety assessments, airport infrastructure. It's all part of the same complex system.
So when you're sitting on a plane, what does this all mean? Why does knowing about Flight 182 and Flight 1344 matter?
It matters because it shows why the industry is constantly evolving. The security checks you go through, the procedures the pilots follow, the design of airports, many of these things are responses to past events.
There are layers of safety built over time, often in response to tragedy.
Exactly. There's this relentless drive to learn and improve, to prevent recurrence, whether it's preventing a bomb from getting on board or ensuring a plane can land safely in difficult conditions. It's about acknowledging the risks and actively mitigating them.
So summing up this deep dive, we've seen two major Air India tragedies. One, an act of terror leading to massive security overhauls like baggage matching. The other, an operational accident highlighting weather and runway risks. Both distinct, both vital in shaping the safety protocols we rely on today.
Yes, and maybe the thought to leave you with is this. How do these lessons learned at such a high cost in aviation translate more broadly? How does learning from past tragedies, whether they're deliberate acts or system failures or environmental factors, shape how we approach safety and prevention in all aspects of our lives?